listening to another unmetered story brought to you by Middle Tennessee Electric. Don't you hate the feeling of being chained to your work or your desk or really anything at all? I do, which is why I'm glad I work here at Middle Tennessee Electric. There's a freedom when you do something you enjoy and are passionate about it. That's not the case with our story today. You'll hear about how two men are quite literally chained to their work. Before I tell you this fun little story, let me remind you that Middle Tennessee Electric prides itself on safety, both for our team and the members we serve. Our members' safety is a priority, and that's why we want to remind everyone to be safe while planting trees, bushes, or any other type of vegetation. Before digging, always call 811 to have someone come out and mark any underground utility line for free. That way you don't disrupt a utility service to either you or your neighbors and become the guy that broke the neighborhood, and nobody wants to be that guy. Also, be aware of vegetation growing into service lines. Plant any vegetation 3 feet away from the side of underground utility boxes, transformers, those types of boxes there in your yard, and at least 12 feet away from the front doors. For more information regarding how to plant around underground transformers and overhead lines, go to mtmc.com/vegetation management. There you'll find additional information about our vegetation management department, like how we improve your quality of service through arborist certified tree pruning and maintenance, or programs to replace your trees. Of course, if you've got a question about anything, you can give us a call at 877-777-9020 to speak with a member support specialist who can help you get your questions answered. Now, I mentioned two men who were chained to their work. Well, let me tell you their story. I call it Ask Me About the Chain Gang. It was a cold and misty morning in 1926 when they stepped out in the German countryside. The buzz of men working filled the air, replacing the sights and sounds of the local wildlife, and made for a fairly calm morning. Walking through the woods to where they had to work felt great after a long ride in a cramped vehicle stuffed with all the men from the housing unit. It would have been even better if they didn't have to bring the chain along with them. The clinking of metal disturbed the calm morning, and if touched incorrectly, could leave a nasty mark on your skin. "Well, did you sleep well last night, Gunner?" said the larger of the two men to break the silence of the morning walk. The man was rather large, with a belly that you might call a Dunlap. You know, when your belly Dunlapped over your belt. Well, this man had one and didn't have the height to match it, so his uniform was a bit stretched and worn out, as it was made for a smaller man. Anyways, despite a haggard look and bags under his eyes, his companion, the freakishly thin Gunner, jokingly responded, "Walter, you should know I didn't, as you were in the bunk beside me. Your snoring kept me and the rest of the gang awake long after you fell asleep." Both men half laughed and continued to make their way up the hill and into the woods. The weight of the chain began to become noticeable in their hands as they shuffled to their destination. But up they went like all the other men working in their area. Having worked together for years along highways and byways, woods and hillsides, and pretty much everywhere in between, Gunner and Walter had become accustomed to these brief conversations. They hadn't intended to build a friendship, but had developed one over the years of working together. They were forced to rely on each other every day to prevent the loss of their sanity, their limbs, and even their lives, which is a daily hazard when you live and work in a dangerous environment. Upon reaching the top of the hill, with much huffing and puffing, I might add, Gunner and Walter set down their chain, which had slowed their ascent, with a collective sigh of relief. A gruff and dirty foreman pointed at the two men and, with contempt in his voice, yelled, "You two get to work over there. You're not here to stand and dawdle." Well, they already knew the foreman didn't like them ever since they started with the gang. You might even say he hated them for no apparent reason. Their belief that he hated them was affirmed by the size of the tree he had chosen for them to work on. Complaining wasn't going to do either of them any good, so Gunner and Walter picked up their chain and walked over to the enormous tree. "How do you want to tackle this today?" Walter said as he stared at the tree, wondering if the two men and their chain could handle such a tree of massive girth. Now, let me take a moment here. This tree was so large, I just want to paint you a picture. I mean, this tree was so large, it was, you could probably make that old mama joke you heard in junior high. Like the ones you saw on Remember the Titans. The one that goes, "Yo mama's so big, you have to hug one side of her and then run around and hug the other side." Well, I think you get what I'm saying when I tell you that this was a large tree. I would even call it a gigantic tree. Well, Back to our story. Yesterday was not a great day for work, Walter said. Breaking the chain and waiting for a new one really slowed down our production. No matter how we go about it, we need to get some power up here to finish the job, or this tree will never fall, Walter continued after sizing the tree up once more. Gunnar sat down at his end of the chain and started walking to the portable generator. He grabbed a grungy and sap-covered cable and walked back over to the tree and set it down beside that chain. Gunnar and Walter began the time-consuming task of running their new chain around their power saw. After what felt like an hour of tweaking and wrenching, the saw was ready to run. Gunnar plugged in that sappy and grungy cable into the saw and lifted his end of it. Now let's get to it, Walter. Now that we fix it again, we're burning daylight and we've got a lot of trees to cut today. So the German loggers began their day of cutting down trees for lumber using their electric chainsaw. Well, that's the unmetered story of the first portable electric chainsaw by Andreas Steele. It was quite a beast, requiring 2 men to operate it because it weighed over 100 pounds when it first debuted in 1926. These saws were built based on previous prototypes, but they really weren't commonplace until the mid-20s. Andreas Steele went on to create the first gas-powered saw 3 years later, and his company still bears his name today. So when you're out pruning or cutting trees with whatever chainsaw you have, whether it's a Stihl or any other type of brand, remember that it's a lot easier than it used to be. One-man chainsaws in their current format took decades to perfect and can still be dangerous if not maintained and used safely. Safety tips are just one of the benefits Middle Tennessee Electric has for our members, so you can find out more benefits of membership by going to experiencemembership.coop. That's experiencemembership.coop. At Middle Tennessee Electric, you're more than just a customer, you're a member, and membership has its benefits. Thanks again for listening this week. We hope you'll stay tuned for more episodes of unMetered. And of course, be sure to check us out on social media at Middle Tennessee Electric. And if you're looking for us on Twitter or Facebook or Instagram or anywhere else, check us out. You can get all that information at mtmc.com. Thanks and have a great day.